If you're worried about priorities, then you're wasting your time. And that's because you're trying to fix the unfixable. Why? Because the concept, priorities, contradicts itself. What is an oxymoron? It's one or more words in a phrase that contradict one another. For example, bitter, sweet. How can something be both bitter and sweet? You might experience bittersweet emotions as a parent when your baby grows up and leaves home for college, or moves away to enter the world of work, or gets married. What's another one? How about jumbo shrimp, a favorite crustacean among seafood lovers? The contradiction is extended by the fact that the jumbo variety isn't even the largest in the shrimp family. A colossal shrimp is bigger. Maybe you've heard of a minor miracle. Miracles are never minor. That's why they're considered to be miracles. I suppose that if you lined them up, then it's possible that some miracles would seem bigger than others, but they could hardly be considered minor. One of the most famous oxymorons was included in a 1965 song by Paul Simon. Can you guess what it is? It's the sound of silence. There's another oxymoron that reminds us of priorities, but which few people recognize. It's first things first. Why is this an oxymoron? Because only one thing can be first. Not things, plural, but thing, singular. The first thing is first. The next thing, whatever it is second. The one after that is third. This may seem so obvious as to be a waste of time to even consider, but anytime you think about things incorrectly, you can draw the wrong conclusions. For instance, social media gives the impression that some of the things discussed play a much bigger role in the lives of people than they actually do. How could that happen? It happens because not everyone uses them. In fact, they're used by less than half the population of the world. And 15% or more of the social media accounts are known to be false or duplicates. But if that's all you see, then it would be easy for you to believe that the whole world thought in a particular way, even though they don't. In countries where there's no freedom of the press and access to the outside world is controlled, people don't know that life could be so much better for them, or that countries their governments say are their enemies really aren't. And so if you assume that what you read, listen to, or watch represents what most people think, then you'll act in a way that's different from what you would do if you knew they didn't. Here's another example. Many of the legitimate accounts that do exist on social media create a false impression of what people's lives are really like. And that's because they don't reveal everything. Usually, they tell you only the best parts. This can give you the false impression that their lives are ideal. Why does that matter? It matters because you might be tempted, as so many people are, to make it your goal in life to emulate them, to try to be what you think they are. What you don't see is the cost, the financial problems, the marital problems, the unruly kids, the drugs and the alcohol that makes their lives a misery. So the assumptions that you make ultimately have a direct effect on how you act. What does this have to do with the erroneous idea of priorities? Well, these are well-known examples that all illustrate the fact that when you make wrong assumptions, then they lead you to incorrect conclusions. All conclusions lie at the root of why you do what you do. They're the result of what you conclude. This is why if you try to create a schedule on the basis of your priorities, plural, then you're setting yourself up for failure before you start. It's because by the words that you use, you're assuming that more than one thing can occur before everything else, which is impossible. And what you'll find is that you'll have a list of things that you want to accomplish simultaneously. That is, you'll want to do them at the same time. The truth, of course, is that you can only work on one thing at a time. It could be that you'll alternate from one thing to another and then to another, but you're still not working on them all simultaneously. And that will cause you a lot of frustration because you won't feel that you're making any progress on any of them. To fix this, you have to change your thinking. You have to recognize that only one thing can be first. You have to decide what that is and then do it until it's finished. And if you can't finish it, then you work on it for as long as you can and then work on the next thing. And you do that for everything on your list. But if you try to do more than one thing at a time, then you won't make much progress on any of them. And that's just because you can only have one priority. Just one. Everything else follows it. And here's a little tip. Each time you stop working on something, whether it's because you're at the end of the time you have to work on it, or at the end of the day, or because you've completed it, write yourself a note about what you need to do next, what you would do if you had more time. Then when you start on it again, all you have to do is review your notes and start again. This tip will save you a bundle of time. It will trigger your memory. You won't have to read through loads of notes trying to figure out what you should do. This tip will also work for phone calls and other interruptions. Instead of stopping mid-flow to deal with them, take a few seconds to write down where you are and what you need to do next. Except in emergencies, you'll always have time to do this. An extra ring on your phone won't matter. If you found this video helpful, then please like it. And if you haven't done so already, then please subscribe to my channel.